You know, Doc said he was Sanukis. Not just a system, but Sanukis is something different. Many of his students and admirers of him consider that they teach Sanukis. Well, I just have to say that I understood when Doc passed, a little while after he passed, what he meant by he was Sanukis. You know, because Doc taught us, you know, how to be ourselves. He taught us, you know, to allow our own expression. So the expression that came into this world, which was named Moses Powell, Dr. Moses Powell, the creative side of Dr. Moses Powell, the man, was Sanukis root, Jiu-Jitsu. So in his application of his spiritual connection with the God, presented us with Sanukis. So we have looked at it as a system of training, which is really just a system of knowing him, who Dr. Moses Powell was and who he is, if you understand.
So I looked all over the place and I saw Moses Powell at St. John Recreation Center in Brooklyn. And I said, this is the guy I want to practice with. And I started practicing with Moses Powell. Moses Powell was a tremendous, remarkable, scientific, and reflective martial artist. He could teach you anybody how to do this differently. He was very talented and he was very smooth, graceful, and deadly. But he also teaches us to be conditioned. We have to have conditioning, training hard. We worked out sweat all over the place. We was on the mat for long hours, 2 or 3 hours sometimes, training hard. The guys now, the new people in Sanukis, they don't like to train us that hard anymore. They don't even remember or even know how we really start training. So the young people doesn't have too much information on Moses Powell really. They just say that they do, but they don't really don't have it. I don't think so. But I felt he spent too much time in martial arts. And that's what made him great. He was giving, he was loving. Sometimes he would give people the shirt off his back. Some people didn't have no clothes. He gave them his clothes. Yes, that's part people don't know about. You see? He was very good and very kind. He was a tough guy too.
He was a tough guy too,
yeah. Some people call him the gentle giant.
What would you say to these new students and those who have started with him at a later time? What would you say to them and that would help them to move forward and be better martial artists?
They have to follow the system of the traditional system of martial arts, which means protocol. Protocol is the order of things. From the young people, they come to the elders. The elders in the Sanukis family, they have to learn from them and somehow follow the advice and direction and training, teaching.
So the Mum was one of the ones who was there when it didn't have a name. It wasn't called Sanukis. It was called Self-Defense Complete or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. I didn't know how the depth of the training that we used to do, because I just thought it was the norm. this particular gentleman who's training, he's Sanukas as well. He used to do a horse dance with 60-pound weights on his back for a whole hour. Now, it's difficult for us to get a student to stand for 5 minutes in a horse dance with his hands up. I mean, one of the things that Grandmaster Lumumba said to me one day, man, he said, you know what the secret to Sanukas was? He says it was the conditioning that you was in, because every time you got on the mat with Grandmaster, and everybody can attest to this, you took a legitimate 24-karat beating. So you had to be in the condition to be able to take whatever it is, because you couldn't give what you couldn't take. And today, a lot of people want to go to heaven, but nobody don't want to die. Nobody don't want to put that effort forth no more.
Moses had very fluent, articulate, dynamic movements, angles, redirections. But in terms of what he brought to the experience of martial art, his art was a very formidable art. It was an art of survival. It was a school of survival. It was a school of streetology, because his art wasn't directed so much for tournament purposes as it was to be able to live in the perilous type of situations and environments that, as a people, that we live in. He was gentle, but he was deadly, and his compassion as a person and as a human being was not known to many. That was the compassion and the heart of this deadly warrior. I think that he would probably admonish us to keep the original intent of what he had laid down in the direction that he wanted to take the art form in, and to be able to particularly be able to disseminate it and give it back, particularly to the children who's coming up behind us, because that's our greatest resources.
As he's going that way, he's tearing this whole right off of it.
You know, Doc meant to me, he taught me everything about, from the spiritual, the mental, and the physical sense of martial art. And I can never repay what blessings that I got, and everything came from the heart. And Soke taught me how to be a true fighting warrior. And I love Soke from the bottom of my heart. I can go out into a gang and fight a gang and won't even trip on it because of what I've been taught from my instructors. And I love you guys forever.
I met the Doc as a child growing up in the Nation of Islam. What his legacy means to me, he touched so many people the world over. He showed and loved and shared love and all that he knew with all that he came in contact with. He was very particular on his system of self-defense, simplicity. He really was concerned with if it's practical enough to use it in a real-life situation. He didn't care about how high you can kick or how amazing your technique may appear to be. He never sought to make himself more than what he was, because he knew who he was and what he could do. And I work to maintain the spirit of Sanukis and simplicity by knowing what or who I am and what I can do. And so what Doc means to me is he breathed life into my way of life, and he gave me a natural, the knowledge of a natural defense against any enemy that would come to me and try and take what God has given to me. He has given to me the way and the life and the way, and that I say eye to eye, heart to heart. Thank you.
Okay, I started with Dr. Moses Powell when I was 7, 8 years old. Before we met, he met up with my instructor. His name was Gus. We call him Buster. And I think he was, that he was passing away. He had leukemia. So he asked the doctor to take care of me. So he was turning me over to him. But before he turned us over to him, he told us in our brain, and young and naive, we don't know, that you could take him. So I was like, okay, that sounds interesting. So one time Doc and I was working out, got me into a lock, and of course I slipped out of it. And then I met a volcano. He bled my nose. So ever since then I was a wise Bushido. But there's a lot that we did together. His wife Betty, Tina, Cheryl, we all grew up together. We take them as our take them as our little sisters. So we've been the Linden Plaza area. We used to be in the projects, training all kinds of ways. Everything that he did, any seminars or different events, he always took a posse with him that was very strong, myself and others that he brought along to represent the St. Lucas. So it's a lot that we did. Tournament-wise, we went out to represent the St. Lucas rule. A few people I can say truly, and that's devoted in terms of when you say St. Lucas. The true warriors that's been out there, sweat, blood, and all, and try to represent versus what's going on, but we won't get into that. But all in all, the doc did a lot for me. He helped me be a true warrior. I used to always love to fight. But he always got on me on that. But there's a lot of things that we did. We did the World Fair. We did a thing that Aaron Banks had. We had a month tour around the world. 2 days here, 2 days there. But it was really interesting. We got to explore a lot of places being attached with him. So, of course, you're going to take your shotguns with him. So we had a good time and training and enjoying each other. So, but it was a lot there, too. So I really, miss him. I love him. I always be representing him. So, and as I said, people see me, they see the doc as well as Professor V. We used to be at the dojo, 554 Atlantic Avenue, 6 in the morning to 12 at night, ongoing training. No such thing as tired. You continue to train. But the energy and the spirit was totally different versus today. They do an hour and have a cataract attack. You can't work them hard like you want without being sued. You can't touch them. So you have to keep your own spirit up. You might find a few that you can work with to maintain that sort of level where we were, but not quite. But as far as trying to, back in the day, I don't see that Bushido code at all. It's not like even a lot of the tournaments, it's sort of flimsy, it's soft politics, everything changed. Because when we fought, you put adhesive tape on. If you had a mouthpiece, put that on and do something. No such thing as safety equipment. As a matter of fact, you get so hard, hit so hard, you almost score your own point. You don't want to get hit no more. But the fighting is not the same. The energy is not as more politics and money. So, but I try to maintain the old school. People still come and train. They say it takes long, but 6 to 7 months, 8 months before a belt, which they earn. You still have to keep that old way they earn when they get to appreciate it more. So it changed a lot, but I'm still saying old school.
Well, as I said earlier, the doc, I trained with the doc since I was started at 7, 8 years old, and still trained with the doc. So it's not that he's gone, but the spirit is always there. It is embedded in us to maintain, to continue to try to keep the system alive. The only sad thing is that, him stepping off and leaving such a gap with a lot of the folks promoting himself, trying to abuse his name, it bothers me. It really upsets me. But the thing is that the true warrior, if it's something that I know that I don't earn, I don't want it. If I didn't work where we represent yourself, GM, when you're there, we represent, we're St. Lucas. We went out, we fought Sunnyside Garden, Manhattan Center. We fought and represent the doc. Everything that the doc did, we all was one with the doc. To try to keep things going, and we're trying to unite. I'm trying to be a peace-type person to try to unite to build a system up. That's why I sort of had to go towards the VSK way, because anybody comes across our doorsteps or my doorsteps, they're going to earn what they think. If they have one leg, one arm, whatever, proves that you're at least able to represent the system.
Each one! Let's go!
Well, I first met Doc. First met him, I was 9. I was about 9 years old. When I came and I started, I clearly wasn't good at all. I was just beginning. And there were so many good persons that were in the class, and I just wanted to be, good like them. Well, criteria for Doc in joining his classes was just working hard, and that's something that you did in his class. You absolutely worked extremely hard, and there was no let up until he let up. Doc came to me and told me, he said, listen, you have something and I want you to name it. I said, Doc, I'm fine with what what I have. I have Sanukis. I don't need anything. And he said, I want you to name it. He came to me again. I mean, not another time in the same day, and said, did you hear what I said? I said, no, I want you to name it. I said, Doc, and for those of you who know Doc, I won't say the words that he said, but I'll just say that they were very poignant and direct. So I said, okay, fine. I had to think about how I would do this. It was very difficult for me to even consider or want to have anything different. So I said, well, I will do what I had in my mind, and that was always to bring the family together. So I decided to just use the acronym VSK, because V stood for his teacher, which is, of course, our teacher as well, Grand Professor Florin de Visitacion. And the S was Sanukis, of course, and the K is Kumiteru Jiu-Jitsu, who is also my teacher. And I came, he was my brother in the art, but he was a huge brother, a big brother, who was the icon and, as far as the dojo and whatnot was concerned. And I saw him, he was in his 20s, which is incredible to think about, that I had the pleasure of being around him at an early age like that, and an early age for him. And he was incredibly fast. And to me, he was extremely huge. He had a small waist, huge upper body, and hands and feet like you wouldn't believe. When we talk about Doc, see, some want to just say Doc, but you have to know the lineage to understand him. Because when you look at Grand Professor V, you find that he was a man who went from studying various things. I mean, he may have studied with someone for a short period of time to get just the basis of what was being taught, because he was already a master and a master teacher. So he went in to study various things, and Doc was the same kind of way. He who already was a master teacher would go and study Aikido, who would go and study other things like Bando and certain other styles that would enhance who he was, which was and is Sanukis. So Sanukis is a makeup of so many different things put into the vessel of Dr. Moses Powell.
I grew up not liking black people doing martial arts. I grew up watching Samurai Sunday, Channel 66, and it was all about it. If you wasn't Japanese or Chinese, it just didn't look real to me. So when I came and started studying, when I first saw Doc, I mean, it made martial arts more real to me. And now that I look back at the Samurai Sunday, and I can kind of see exactly where a lot of that comes from.
Especially for that chop. Look, you right here? What do you want to
I too grew up in the 70s looking at the Bruce Lee films, Chuck Norris, good guys wearing black, not good guys being black. You know, so when I saw Grandmaster Anthony come in '95, I was just entering into the ranks in the Nation of Islam, and it blew my mind. You know, I had never seen black men do that, although I did train in Taekwondo under Master Carlos Livingston, but I hadn't seen this. And then in the first seminar that we had in '95 in Coles Park, right, that's when I met who became basically my grandfather, Dr. Moses Powell. And at that point in time, you know, he was just sitting in the chair, had his cane next to him. I'm like, you know, hey, you know, until he did a technique on me, on my cuticles. I never even knew I had cuticles until he touched them. So, long and short of it, man, you know, that's who defines this. I mean, that is my spirit, one of my spiritual grandfathers, just as Grandmaster is my father in this art.
To me, Dr. Moses Powell is the spiritual and mental evolution of martial art. I've studied martial arts and have enjoyed martial arts in formal and informal settings since about the age of 9. Wasn't until I was introduced to Doc through Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad that I began to understand the more contemporary form of martial arts. A lot of systems still use techniques and ways that were relevant in feudal Japan or in the battlefields in China. However, the scenery of the battlefield has changed. Now we deal with concrete and asphalt. So of course the combative techniques have to change. And that is what Doc really brought to the forefront in my heart. So when I train with that in mind.
Just the introduction of Dr. Moses Powell is the epitome of seeing an idea come to reality. To see, to hear about martial arts and then see it transcend on a whole new different level. Not just on the physical level, but also on the mental and spiritual. And just to hear what his idea of expressing a technique through words takes more than a month or two, or probably even a year to truly understand. It's no fun when the rabbit's got the gun. It may sound hilarious, but then as you learn to unfold and grow in the art, then you get a better meaning of what he said. He goes beyond what I saw in reading a book about martial arts. He is the book that comes alive. And just his aura, when he stepped into a room, changed the whole atmosphere of the room. His technique changed the whole technique. You just saw it from the side until you were touched by him. Then you just stayed as a participant instead of the reality.
Going through the years, I really started to appreciate this art because number one, it's about self-defense. And since I was never really the kind of person that really wanted to be in a fight, this particular art offered me the opportunity to be able to protect myself without sweating a whole lot, without having to do kicks to somebody's head, you know, worry about whether or not I was going to pull a hamstring muscle. You know, it just allowed me to be able to take care of myself in a nice, womanly manner, you know, not mess up your hair if you don't want to, that kind of stuff. But I would like to say too that, you know, the stuff is real serious. It's real, it could be real deadly, and it's not something to play with. And I appreciate all the things that they teach us because it's not just, you learn a lot, not just how to defend yourself, but you also learn, you know, about the body, what the body can and cannot do, and why this art works so well. You know, the dock represents water to me. You know, water can be still, it can flow, it can be slow, it can be fast. It gives life, but then it also can kill. And nevertheless, the bottom line is that we all need water. And that's how I see Doc. He's giving us something that we all need. And we can use it, we can be slow with it, we can be fast with it, we can heal and help with it, or we can do what we have to do. We have to defend ourselves, and that's take it to its limit.
You know, I can't even really talk about so much Doc.
mentioning my teacher more because, you know, as with all of us, I mean, we would know Dr. Powell if it was not for Grandmaster Anthony. I met my teacher when he was carrying the title professor nearly 16 years ago. And from the first time I met my teacher, I got a technique, which was similar to the conversation I had with Dr. Powell over the phone a little time before I met my teacher. And I always wanted to be his student. And Dr. Powell has become my teacher. And I always referred to him as my grand-professor or my grandfather. And I said this to him before, and he said, that's right, you know, that's right, because I look at my teacher as my father in many different ways, as well as martial arts. And I just want to say that I'm so glad to be a part of the VSK Jiu-Jitsu family. I'm glad that my teacher told me that Doc wanted a family and not a federation, because federations don't operate like families do. And Doc is the spirit behind my teacher, the spirit. You know, that simplicity is just exactly what we're supposed to be, real simplistic. You know, the truth is easy when you find yourself in agreement with it. It's difficult when you find yourself on the other side of it.
The Doc, what he means to me, he has given me a great appreciation of the art. In that I come from a background of karate, and I didn't really like martial arts. My father was my instructor, probably had something to do with it. But it wasn't until I met Grandmaster Anthony Muhammad that I learned about the Doc. And just to see that this black man could do what he could do. I wasn't, you know, I always thought martial arts was about the punches and the kicks and this and that, but it wasn't until I saw the mat work, the rolls, the falls. I had never seen anything like that in my life. I'm like, what is this? And, you know, then I saw the warrior within, and I saw this big, huge guy doing a rollout on one finger. And that just fascinated me.
martial arts because just in case somebody tried to attack me or anything else, I know how to defend myself so I don't get hurt. I study martial arts so I can learn how to defend myself if someone tries to attack me.
Moses Powell is one of my teachers, the Grandmaster's teacher, so he's also one of my teachers that I respect.
He is like not only a master, but he's like a father to all of us. And he taught Grandmaster, and so he could teach the other masters so they could teach us.
What I get out of teaching children, I get a better understanding of the art. As I was being trained in it, you see it from one perspective. But when you begin to teach it, and teach it to children in particular, you begin to see a lot of your mistakes and correct a lot of your mistakes, and it makes you a better martial artist.
Well, what I feel as a individual who have actually trained as a child in the martial arts, and I tell you, the practicing of this was incredible. I had the opportunity again to be with Dr. Moses Powell on the mat. I trained with him at a time when he was in his 20s. He had not gotten to 30. I was around him at that time, and there was no let up on the children. There was concern, there was care, because he really, Dr. Moses Powell really cared about the children in the martial arts, and he cared enough to make sure that who was training us, if it wasn't him, who was training us, that they cared about us. And I'll tell you that he was called Master Musa back in the day, and but he didn't want me to call him Master Musa. He told me, he said, just call me Brother Moses. Call me Brother Moses or Brother Musa. And I said, yes, sir, Master Musa, because I always had and have been taught to, maintain the respect, and I appreciated it, and I love the fact that he did that, and he's not the only one that does that. Humility for the master is so important. But, this is, about the children, and I just like the fact that he gave me the opportunity to experience humility, to experience, his humility and his, lowering his head, bowing his head, so that the beauty of courtesy would pass even over his to someone else. So again, that was wonderful. It is important for us to continue the legacy of training our youth and our children, because they are the extension of us. And if we do not work and train the children, then we are destroying the art. So those of us who do not train or think that is a task or just difficult to train children, if we feel like that, then you really are putting yourself in a position where it ends the life of the family in which you are responsible for. Where you find a family of where there are no children, you find a family that has an ending period. But as long as you have youth around you, as long as you have children around you, as long as you have even the spirit of youth around you, you have long life. I have a wonderful respect for the training and teaching of children, and I will always, as long as I have the ability and as long as I can teach and talk, I will always say that and have some child around that can keep me youthful and to keep our art in existence, because if you're training the children, then you are training your future.
We're non-violent with people who are non-violent with us. But we are not non-violent with anyone who is violent with us.
a student of a master here today, you reflect your master teacher. You want to walk like him. You want to talk like her. But you start by having an object in front of you that you admire.